Over to you, Bill.
All right. Thanks, Karam, for the introduction. Appreciate that. And hey, everyone, thanks for attending. I'll go ahead and share my screen quickly here so we can get started. So just a moment. There we go. Okay, so first let's kick off with an agenda. First, we're going to talk about the Prisma SASE platform. Now, I know for some of the people on the phone here, especially my friends in Dublin, Ohio, which I saw in the attendees list, some of this stuff won't be new for you guys, but there's a lot of people on the phone who this may be new for, as far as how we see our product, our platform, and then how all of that comes together. Next, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about recent innovations, things that were released in the past few months. We'll make sure we're all caught up on the same page as far as capabilities go. And we'll look at user ID, IP visibility, IPv6. We'll next get into the summer roadmap. And these are things that are being released right now, actively this month, including our Strata Cloud Manager. And then we'll finish up with a Q&A and some final resources to talk through. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Again, we'll spend maybe 5 minutes talking about the platform view and what SASE is to us. SASE, if you think about it from a market category standpoint, it's really a combination of both WAN network, cloud security, edge security, user experience, and doing that all in a manageable and scalable way into one platform. And that's how we see, as you can see, 4 different kind of key aspects of how we connect users to their resources. And we believe that Prisma SDWAN is a critical part of what a future branch might look like, okay? So the one thing is that the networks have to be easy to deploy and easy to grow and scale. So we offer a wide variety of connectivity, including integrated 5G and LTE, internet, MPLS, all those things that you would expect. Secondly, having a critical understanding of applications is important because that's what we deliver as network practitioners, and security as well. We make sure that customers have timely, performant, and secure access to the resources they need through the application. So having a good understanding of those and their expectations and network SLAs is super important. That's the next critical foundation of our Prisma SASE platform. Next is we have to do it securely. So we look at the zero trust methodology where we need to connect all of our users to their resources. And the way that we see this is, there's a lot of different acronyms or terms that get thrown around or different capabilities. That's all an inherent part of our Prisma SASE platform, delivered both at the edge and also through cloud security in the form of Prisma Access. That's our cloud security layer, as well as the SD-WAN network edge layer as well. And lastly, you have to be able to manage all this stuff, right? It can't be hard or complex to manage, so having AI-powered operations to help with that is super critical. Now, we could probably spend 30 minutes on this topic alone because it's not just about Prisma SD-WAN. There's also our digital experience management, how we do correlation across products. All these things are important topics. As it pertains to today, we'll just talk about a few key things here, right? One is WAN insights. And WAN insights are how we leverage machine learning technology to baseline network performance and find deviations automatically and notify you of those. You come up in the form of insights that you can find on your Prisma Analytics dashboard inside of Prisma SD-WAN, as well as each site as well. So you can see it at site level, circuit level, or at a global level. Obviously, app performance, understanding how apps are performing is a key thing, and we'll see some of those demonstrations live today. And then lastly, some newer things that we've added around predictive capacity planning. So we've added the ability not only to look backwards and see capacity issues and that we have in the form of insights, we're now looking forward. So based upon what we see, we can predict that you're going to run out of capacity in X number of days or weeks. These are all things that, again, can help you from an operational standpoint to lessen the operational burden and focus more on the important things in your daily activities. And last, the end user experience, okay? So being able to monitor the end user experience, having embedded digital experience management across users, devices, and the same technology embedded throughout is a key part of our platform. And we've had this now ubiquitously across the Prisma SD-WAN infrastructure for a couple of years. We've had embedded DIN technology natively into the SD-WAN Ion appliances. Same thing for users for Global Protect, where we can now leverage all of our synthetic traffic testing and tracking and look at all of the network on a per hop basis from all the way from user through the LAN network, wireless, WAN, all the way to the end application and get a per hop detailed accounting as well as identifying issues and where they may be at. Okay, so we talked about the 5G stuff earlier. I want to make that kind of quick because I want to get into the meat of our presentation today, which is what's some of the cool stuff we've been working on and how's it going to help you. All right, so just a high level overview. We look at our product strategy in 3 key buckets. One of those is SASE, one is core SD-WAN, and one is SD-Branch. SASE focuses on things like a common user experience or having common policy elements like user ID and device ID and things like that. Core SD-WAN is around those core SD-WAN technologies that you would expect, routing, all those types of things. And then SD-Branch. These are our hardware platforms and cellular certifications and other things like that. And again, Release 6.2 came out a few months back. A lot of customers are still rolling that out and absorbing the new features. We'll talk about a few key features today. First one is user ID. So user ID is a technology where many of you probably know this if you've used NGFWs previously, but where you can leverage user ID-based policies and identification to give a granular level of control, visibility, and accounting for how we do policy enforcement. So from a Prisma SD-WAN perspective, we leverage user ID and get the information from a couple different points in the network. One is for user to IP mappings. We rely upon one or more NGSWs to supply that information into the SD-WAN fabric. So we will get that information from an NGSW location, pull that in, and then distribute that out intelligently out to all of the different branch nodes that need to consume that. Secondly, user to group mappings. So user to group mappings, we pull those from Cloud Identity Engine. We get those, and then we distribute those also out to our various endpoints for enforcement. Now, how can you actually utilize this in policy? So from a policy standpoint, you can utilize this in path policy. So you can actually build a user or group level path policy. You can build a user or group level QoS policy. And lastly, the most common use case is for zone-based firewall or security policy enforcement. So the zone-based firewall that exists on the Prisma SD-WAN ions at the edge, you can now include user and group-based attributes in your policy rules. So this is in addition to being able to leverage IP prefixes, which is our previous kind of user level control. Now you can up-level that to dynamic groups and as well as specific users. Now, the other part of this is how do I look at the accounting? So on a per flow basis, we will do accounting at the user level. So if you go into flow details, you can now see the user ID that was matched, which you can also obviously filter on that as well. If I wanted to just do a filter on all packets or all traffic from myself, I could go and add a filter for that and then see just that traffic as needed. So allows you to quickly get to the user view so that you can see everything going on for that specific user. IoT device ID. So IoT device ID security service is one of our cloud delivered security subscriptions. And at a high level, it gives a level of intelligence about the device. So we talked about user-centric policy constructs and now device-centric. Devices, of course, can come in from multiple entry points. They can come in from a data center, come in from a branch. They can come in from through a mobile user gateway in Prisma Access. And what we're doing as a first step to integrating IoT security into Prisma SD-WAN is we're using the Prisma SD-WAN ion as a sensor. So in this first phase, the high-level value proposition here is now the ion will look at all DHCP traffic going to or through the ion. It doesn't have to be destined to it, but we will actually snoop that traffic, as well as inspecting the ARC tables that are attached to the ion, take all that information and upload that into your Cortex Data Lake instance. That information is sent to the IoT security service for further analysis. And then any traffic control that needs to happen based upon the assessment and verdict that IoT security determines is appropriate for that device will then be distributed down to Prisma Access for enforcement. So that's the high-level version of what this does. And the whole point is that we're getting a level of visibility and fingerprinting on devices that may or may not have users attached to them, that may or may not have particular problems with them associated, especially from a security standpoint and security posture perspective. So that's the essence here, is to further push the security down into the WAN network, get that information, and then allow for enforcement in the cloud. All right. Now let's get into this summer enhancements. There's a significant chance that many of you may have already received the Strata Cloud Manager UI update. We've been rolling this out now since late June, and we continue to control rollout for the remainder of this month as well. The Strata Cloud Manager, what is that? There's actually a lot behind this, but the overarching goal here is that as a company, as a network security platform, that we give the easiest manageable experience to the end user, and we unify a bunch of different things. And I'll get into the details of what that actually means. We're actually going to spend quite a bit of time on this because I want you to have an understanding of how things have changed and why they've changed. Secondly is WAN segmentation. So we are actively in the actual controller updates that went out last weekend and this weekend. You'll see some new VRF profiles that may show up in your portal. So we're adding WAN segmentation to our set of capabilities. And then lastly, link assurance in the form of error correction, very much targeted towards single link environments. And we'll talk through the use cases a little more in just a minute. For WAN segmentation and link assurance, we wanted to get these capabilities out as soon as possible. So the approach that we've taken here is we're actually going to have an innovation image. So we'll have our 62X mainline image, and then we'll have all these features available in an innovation image as well. So WAN segmentation and link assurance will be available in the innovation image. And you can reach out to your SE or to me directly to get access to that image. I'm happy to help you with that. And it'll be something that we'll allocate to you and work with you to test your use cases and make sure that you're good with the experience. All right. So Strata Cloud Manager. If we think about just from a Prisma SD-WAN perspective, it's important to understand where we started. And I know there's actually folks on the phone who have, this is where they started their journey with CloudGenix many, many years ago. This is where I started in 2017 with the product and what it looked like. We've had since we became a part of the Palo Alto Networks family, we've actually developed a pretty robust vision that's taken many steps to bring to fruition. So in 2020, we basically had basic integration between Prisma SD-WAN and CloudBlades based upon Prisma SD-WAN and Panorama based upon our cloud-based technology. And everything was kind of separate there. We integrated, there and where it made sense. The next part was to standardize a UI framework, where we delivered this monitor and manage framework in addition to RESTful APIs. Data lakes were still separate incident alert pipelines as well. In 2022, we took the step to, we'll call it a level 0 integration, where we said, okay, we can actually deliver these things in the same UI. It may not be exactly how we want it just yet, but we'll take one more step forward, maybe a step forward, and bring these together into the same UI with the same configuration on the left pane, where you can click through to the different product sets and capabilities and policy and all those things. We did also unify the data lake last year, so all the statistics, information, network flows, control or link quality information, all got put into the data lake where the rest of the SASE portfolio lives at also. And this year, where are we at? We're now to a point where we're starting to roll out a unified, easy onboarding process to where CloudBlades aren't really required anymore. So this is where we can add a branch site and onboard it to Prisma Access at the same time simultaneously and build out that service infrastructure in a lot simpler fashion. So that's something we're pretty excited about. And then we continue to unify our incident alert pipelines and a few other things as well. So we'll get into what this looks like with a demo. So I'm going to feel a little brave today and actually go to a demo. Of course, my session timed out by the time I got over to it. I'll have to log back in, I'm sure, as well. Of course. Go ahead and get logged in here. Okay. While we're waiting for that authentication to go through, I'll kind of talk through a few brief things. One is that our vision is pretty big and bold here from a network security platform. When I say network security, that's the entire Palo Alto division responsible for Prisma SASE, NGFW, Panorama Cloud Management, ADEM, all those technologies live under network security. So we have a vision of continuing to align products into this UI. The first four to align here are NGFW, Prisma Access, ADEM, and Prisma SD-WAN, and there'll be more that continue to roll into this UI as the year goes on. From a Prisma SD-WAN perspective, what this meant is that we needed to come up with a way, and actually from across the whole portfolio, a way to think about and organize data into and resources in a way that's going to make sense across all the product sets. So we call that an information architecture, and we spent a good portion of last year building that, rationalizing it, figuring out how we get from 3 or 4 different user experiences to a single one. So a lot of work went into that. That does mean that each product has some amount of change in where resources might be at, and how you might get the answers to questions that you might want to be answered. In many or most cases, we've actually shortened the amount of clicks to get to a resource. So we've put a lot of effort into click counting and load times and those types of things, and we continue to make those better. But either way, let's get started with some of just the basics of navigation here. So when you first land, you now have this dashboards view, and dashboards, you can actually add many different dashboards. Here you see about 10 or so. There are many more possible depending on which products you have that licensed inside of the Strata Cloud Manager. So these are just a few of them. I, of course, have the Prisma SD-WAN dashboard here because we're going to talk mostly about that. You have incidents and alerts. Monitor. This is where you would monitor applications, branch sites, data centers, or your IAMs. You, of course, have manage and policy. So you have a Prisma SD-WAN section. And you have policies, resources, Cloud Blades are now here, as well as system. Workflows. Workflows are a newer concept where we have, where we look at day 0, day 1 provisioning tasks that they fit better into a common workflow. And what a good example of that is how to onboard a site that's into both Prisma Access and Prisma SD-WAN, but not make it product specific. So this would be where, a nice day 1 provisioning task where it's in a common location across the platform. And then lastly, reports. So we had reports previously, a little bit different location. They were under monitor previously, now they're under their own section here under reports. Now the dashboard hasn't changed a whole lot. We did do some consolidation here. One of the things that you notice is there's a dark mode, which is great. The dark mode is controllable right now based upon whatever your operating system preferences are set as. Mine are in dark mode. I believe by the end of this week, you will have the ability to control light mode, dark mode, or user OS settings inside of the settings over here. You'll see some user preferences show up. From a dashboard standpoint, we have our device to controller application list, including health where applicable, any alerts, our link quality, and then we've added some things here that were previously kind of spread out over the activity pages and elsewhere. So this includes a global bandwidth utilization chart, as well as our transaction statistics, again, at a global level. At the very bottom, we have some 3 high-level indicators for our predictive analytics capabilities, including how many branch sites are performing poorly, how many applications are, and how many links are performing poorly. Now, if we start with a very common workflow, and there's 2 in my mind. One might be, I have, I want to look at application performance across the network. So I could, maybe there's a specific application that I know is having a problem, so I can drill into that application here by clicking on it, or clicking View App Details, or I can click here to view all applications that are from Prisma SD-WAN. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll get a view of what the overall application experience looks like. So here we have our app health distribution, both currently and over the past time range. You can, of course, extend this time range out. You can filter based on application health as well. Here you can see total new flows in your environment, as well as total bandwidth utilization and transaction stats. Down below, I'll see a list of applications with a little more detail. Again, it's a global level list organized by TCP apps and by other apps, of which I can interact with either of these to drill down. Now, for TCP applications, let's maybe pick one that has a little bit of traffic associated with it, and then we'll dig into what does a global TCP application look like. So let's see here, which is a good one. Let's pick Disney Plus as an example. See if this will be a good one. And here now I'm looking at global application details for Disney Plus. And here I can see a health score that looks like it's kind of streaming on and off quite a bit. How many sites are using it, the new flows, TCP versus UDP, bandwidth utilization, transaction stats. And here I can see branch 1, Raleigh, is using this. Now from here, I can go to branch 1, Raleigh, and look at all of the site activity, or I can look at the specific details for this application at the branch site. So I'm just going to go and look at the specific details here for Disney Plus at branch site Raleigh. Now you'll notice here for TCP, and this is actually captured also as a media app since it's real-time streaming. So we have Disney Plus here, and we have its total utilization at this site. If there was more media information, you would of course see that here. It's very little that's actually captured as media traffic, but audio jitter, video jitter, all those things. Bandwidth utilization, new flows, concurrent flows, app response time. For a lot of longtime customers, you know what this app response time is. This is your easy way to understand what's a network issue in the form of RTT versus what might be a server response time issue in the form of SRT. And then app reachability. Down below, you can see I've got a little bit of broaden this column out a little bit, but you can see all the flow browser information is here now embedded in top of the application analytics. So what we've done here is essentially taken about 3 or 4 different screens of information and put it into one page. So that reduces your clicking between tabs and other things. So you can get all the way from top level, app information, MOF score information, all the way down to the flow information should you choose to use it. So if you need to look at the individual flow level information. Now from here, I can go back up and look at more app information, or I can navigate directly to the branch 1 Raleigh site summary. And this is an existing screen that's been there for quite some time. We'll just kind of cover some changes in the screen briefly. A lot of the same things are still intact, including the site health score, the site bandwidth utilization, all the individual circuit health score information, and those things are still there today as they were yesterday, the device information. And then we've added a whole new revamped applications widget. And this applications widget is now brings some of that flow level information and connection stats down to the site level. I can also see a top list of the top 10 apps as well. So I can see all of those, both non-media apps and media apps. I can go from here and click on View All Flows. I want to look at everything from all the flows of the branch site unfiltered. You can see here Super SASE app is our top consuming app. I can just as easily look at the details for this application, and it kind of takes me back to that app plus site detail view, and I can bounce back and forth between these. Down at the bottom, we've kind of separated 2 columns out. One is open incidents, and the second is acknowledge and resolve incidents. This happens a lot. You have a problem, you're at lunch, you get back from lunch, and you go and you look and there's no open incident. So what we said is, okay, maybe we just include the recent acknowledged and resolved incidents, which is all driven based upon the time range filter at the top. So it'll show you any open and resolved incidents based upon the time range that's set here. You can also change the start date as well. So I can go and look at yesterday, for 3 hours, same time range, or last week, or any number of time ranges. Now, let's look at, I click on one of these incidents. I will be taken over to the incident details for this. Now, this is actually a good segue into a revamped incident experience. Previously, we had a sidecar, and the sidecar into a full screen, and this is a pretty big leap forward. I'm actually going to start from the global level here instead of down at an incident, so it makes more sense. But now you can see at a global level, all of my incidents broken down by their severity. So which ones are critical, warning, and informational. And these are all Palo Alto Networks defined severity. And then we also see in the matrix if they're a network, a device, cellular, so on and so forth. So you can see exactly where things are broken at in this matrix. Now, priority is something that you define. That's based upon the incident settings, what we used to call event policy. This is something that, and any of these are clickable as well, and we'll do that in a second. Here I can see top incidents that have occurred. So these are going to be sorted by criticality, or excuse me, priority, and then by time. So most recent will be on top. I can click any one of these to go in. Maybe I want to look at just the P2 incidents here, and this will take me to this new incidents list where I'm only seeing P2 incidents. So here, cellular modem error and BGP peer down. Now let me remove this quickly, this filter, so we can see all the incidents. And here we have some new group by capabilities, and I find these to be pretty helpful, especially if you want to look at things that have broken recently. So I can group by, let's say I'll start by age. So I'll say group by age, and then I see one incident, and that was 2 days ago. Or maybe I want to start with group by severity, and I can see everything that's warning, informational, critical, or alternatively, by priority. So from I can also do group by priority, then age, and I can have multiple levels of sorting and filtering to be able to drive this and get down to and answer the questions I want to get answered as far as what incidents are there or have happened in recent history. As I mentioned, the incident details is a lot more, so now full screen view, so you can see all the information about that. You can acknowledge the incident, of course, like you could previously. You can see a nice detailed list of all of the correlated incidents. So, as it's been around for many years now at Prisma SDWAN, we do automatic correlation amongst related incidents, and then we suppress all the child incidents, and then we create a new parent incident. In this case, it's site connectivity degraded that we've created here for the Gillette Stadium. You can just easily drill into each one of these child incidents as well. You also see which policy rules were hit as part of your incident settings. Alerts is largely the same thing. Alerts are things that happen and you can't really do much about them to fix them per se. They might be like, oh, your device rebooted. Well, you can't really unreboot a device. It's been rebooted for whatever reason, whether you did it by command or pulled the power out. Those kinds of things show up there. And then incident settings is how we control our what information and what's important, what should be suppressed. All those things are driven by incident settings. And I won't go through these in detail because it's actually probably a 15-minute discussion just in and of itself. These are things that have been there for quite some time. Briefly on monitor. So we've got some pretty powerful views here. Monitor applications we already saw. Monitor branch sites is another. And I'll just go to monitor branch sites Prisma SD-WAN. And here you will see a combined view of SD-WAN, site health, this is connectivity health, as well as application experience score provided by ADEM. So you kind of look back to where we were at, last year, where we had, stacked views on the left-hand nav. Now we've got integrated workflows at level 1, level 2, level 3 in the user interface. And this app experience information is actually embedded in the columns as well. You'll see that pop up here. You'll see all of your site health also be displayed, all the information you would expect on a per site level. So it's very, very rich information here, so much that it has a horizontal scroll. So unless you have an ultra wide monitor, you'll have to do a little bit of horizontal scrolling to be able to see that. Now here we've already been down to branch 1 Raleigh and seen that. That was that site summary view that we walked through earlier, so I won't repeat that workflow, but you get the idea. You can also configure the site from here if you so choose to do that. And then one more thing that's important to call out is ION device monitoring. So if you previously used the activity tab to do device monitoring, you'll now do it from here. And let's say that you might have filtered down to other devices that are 5G devices here. And I just want to, let's see, I'll just click on this, and then I should be able to get a information packed view of this ION and all of its capabilities. So all of its statistics, rather. I can see CPU, memory, all the temperature sensors in this unit and what they are currently at. Disk utilization, and if I pick interfaces, I can add interfaces to this. Let's just pick a couple here. And we can render some data here under interface utilization. You'll see this here as well. You can see traffic going on the Verizon network and so on and so forth. Any drop packets, any interface pairs, if applicable. This device also has cellular, so you can click on this to go to the cellular. This device, unfortunately, does not have a SIM in it right now, so you won't see all the information, but you get the point. So you can drill down one more level and see all the information related to the cellular strength, traffic volume, all the things. And sometimes each of these have their own individual perspectives between SNR, RSSI, RSPQ, all that stuff. So again, we'll go through this in detail, but you get the idea. I want you to know how to find it and where it's at in the new UI. All right. Now, I think from a managed standpoint, everything's largely the same. So now you just go to manage and policies. These are things that have been around in Prisma SD-WAN for quite some time. I can control my bindings to my site. I can control my path policy rules, security policy rules. All those things are there, and they are really untouched. They were migrated pretty much in place, so you won't see anything different there as far as how they work. Resources, same for that. Your application definitions are here under resources. This is nothing new. This is where they were previously. Your configuration profiles across, from multicast, syslog, DNS, these are all listed here as well. And then Cloud Blades, as I did mention, has been relocated from a top level item into being under manage, but you can see it's just one click away here to get to your Cloud Blades that are installed in your environment. Now, workflows is a little different. Workflows, we now go here to do set up branch sites, as I mentioned. This environment doesn't have the newer combined SASE onboarding in my demo environment. I've got another one for that, but for the sake of time, I won't switch to that one because it might take a while for me to do that, to switch to that environment. But other than that, everything else is the same. I can add a branch site just like I used to, and I can do that from here. Same thing for data centers and devices and software upgrades. They're all managed here under workflows. Reports for Prisma SD-WAN did get a little bit of a facelift. So we've added a couple things here. If I look at WAN clarity, we've kind of gotten rid of that folder navigation structure and made it a little more easy to navigate. So when you first land on it now, you'll see the most recent time range of reports and defaulted to branch. You can of course select data center if you like. Here you have your circuit utilization information. I can go here and click preview and pull up any information that might be relevant in the utilization quadrant. Same thing for hotspots, top end, all that stuff. There is a new aggregate bandwidth utilization report. This is more applicable for customers that are using our aggregate bandwidth licensing model. So you can see a global aggregate bandwidth licensing view of your network, as well as a per site view also. So you can see which sites are consuming all your license pool. But again, that is now reporting here available inside Prisma SDWAN reports. If you're coming from the original Cogenics portal, one thing to note is that your access management and tenant management looks a little bit different. So down here at the very bottom, there's actually a whole different way you get to and manage tenants if you happen to have a multi-tenant infrastructure. And then let's see what else to show here. I think that's probably it from an overall portal standpoint, the things we want to show right now. Let's perhaps, we've got 17 minutes left. Let's go ahead and pivot back to our presentation here. And I know I'm moving really fast, so happy to answer any questions either now or in the future or after the call. All right, WAN segmentation. So if I think about the history of Prisma SD-WAN, this going back to 2012, 2013, we had one particular approach for doing traffic segmentation and traffic classification. And our approach to that was leveraging something called a context. Context allows you to classify traffic based upon, let's say, whether it was voice traffic or whether it's an IoT segment, and really just to give a label to that traffic so it can be treated and classified in policy using whatever policy rules that you might want to use. And that's how we did segmentation previously. We're now adding the ability to support overlapping IP space as part of that segmentation. So that means now inside of a particular tunnel, or actually a network for that matter, that a branch ion will have, could have, if needed. Again, this is not a feature that everybody needs, but there's a, percentage or few percentage of customers that want to build our network in this way to meet their business requirements, where they want separate routing tables. So this is, look at it as an end-to-end segmentation where I can have a branch site. Maybe it's let's say the yellow network. This is security cameras and physical security infrastructure. And I want that network to have, to be segmented, because not all those devices are secure, ironically enough, and some may be compromised depending on where you buy them from. So I want to, limit the access of that and keep it in its own separate routing table. So I'll have those cameras that can talk to their servers that they need in the data center, and if there's any need for those two different camera networks to communicate between sites, that's also possible. So really, this is pretty straightforward stuff, end-to-end segmentation from branch to branch, branch to DC. And then I don't want to go into all the details of it, but you'll be able to leak information or leak routes between VRFs if you need to on a selected basis. Again, at a point, I think you would use this very sparingly, because if you need a lot of communication between the segments, then you should probably leverage zone-based firewall to do the separation and segmentation versus VRF. So that's, again, one way to think about how to solve the problems you have with the tools that you have in Prisma SD-WAN is, you don't have that everything's a nail, and you've got screwdrivers and pliers and hammers in your tool belt, and you solve the problem that you need for your business based upon the tools that we provide you. All right, next up is link assurance using FAC. And kind of quickly on this one, if you think about the premise of Prisma SD-WAN, it is that we're gonna provide you the best path selection to meet your application SLAs. So whatever you define, whether it's a default, all applications, general configuration, or if it's on a per app basis, we want to get the traffic on the right link to meet that SLA. And that's kind of the default mode for our path selection, and that will remain that in the future, up to the point when there are no SLA compliant paths in the network. At that point, forward error correction will be enabled for that application flow, and it will kick in, and that forward error correction is adaptive. So if it's a, let's say 3% packet loss that's occurring, that the system will correct, appropriately and encode the right amount of parity into that bit stream to make sure that we can recover on the remote end. If it's 10%, it will encode more. So again, it's adaptive effect based upon what we're sensing the actual loss ratios are at. On this topic, there's actually a bunch more exciting stuff that we're going to be talking about at our upcoming SASE Converge event coming up in a couple months. Some of you may actually get a little preview on this before SASE Converge. Maybe we can come back and in this forum talk about it again. But a bunch more exciting things we'll be talking around here on this topic of app SLAs and things like that. And then, last but not least, no good presentation would be complete without talking about something that's using acronyms like LLMs, large language models, or natural language processing, or ChatGPT, or BARD, or any of those things. So I'll cap off the presentation with that. So this might be the first time this is coming out into the public. If so, hopefully I don't get in trouble for it, but I'm an overshare, so here we are. We have a project that's been going on the majority of the year, and as part of this Strata Cloud Manager rollout, there will be something additional coming out next month, is when we're slating this for, again, tentatively. And that's our co-pilot, our network security co-pilot. And if you think about what is a user interface and what can it do? And a user interface is there from a monitoring standpoint for you to get your questions answered. And inside of these interfaces and these flows, we have space, screen space, and so many clicks where we can answer a finite amount of questions for you. And like for Prisma SDWAN, we might answer a couple hundred individual questions throughout all the various workflows. But I talk to customers every week, and they say, it'd be great if I could see information X and information Y. There's an infinite number of possibilities for that. And how we're going to leverage generative AI inside of Palo Alto Networks is to allow you to ask those questions of our system. And I think this is going to be a really big, powerful, seminal moment for our product and the platform in general, is to allow you to ask those novel questions that you always wanted answered, and you'll be able to ask those to our system in the form of a natural language query. And I just went in and asked a few, I guess it was last week now. Show me the top 10 users having an integrated Zoom meeting in the 1 week. So I asked that question, and these things are dynamically built. So this text, we've trained our models a couple different ways. There's actually multiple layers to this. We train our text inputs, and these different parts of the text get associated with different tables. And then the parameters of your question get translated into different columns and different time ranges. So all these queries are built on the fly dynamically. This is basically your own personalized natural language SQL query interface into the Palo Alto Networks network security backend data. So pretty powerful stuff when you think about the possibilities. This just answers the question, top 10 user with Zoom. So I blocked out the names of my coworkers here just for obvious reasons, but I can see that there were many of my peers that had in excess of 20 different meetings where Zoom was performing poorly in the last week. This is a very basic example using this big box chart type plotting. One thing to note is that the system will dynamically render based upon the data it gets back. It'll pick a visualization. So if it's time series data, it'll give you a time series chart. If it's, in this case, a result in 10 different objects with associated numbers, it gives you this kind of plot. All this happens dynamically. Very, very powerful stuff. All right. With that, we've got just a few minutes left. I just wanted to call out, just like Karam mentioned, that we have a live community. What I've touched on today as far as Strata Cloud Manager, there's actually a whole Live Community article on this. I've included the bit.ly here, so you can quickly take a screenshot of this and get to it and type it in if you like to. There's a demo video. There's several guides that accompany that. So there's like a cheat sheet guide that's before and after of Prisma SD-WAN before and Prisma SD-WAN after Strata Cloud Manager, as well as other full admin guides both before and after. All that information is there available for you. All right. With that, let's talk about Q&A.